Hello, my name is Emily. You might remember me from my art GCSE videos a couple of years ago. So today is the long-awaited sketchbook tour. I got a grade 9 for these books and I got full marks. This is my latest book, i.e. the one I did last, and it's about messages. That is my gut reaction book to messages, which is the first thing I did, cutting up the AQA mark scheme. It's really good to make these kind of things because it shows the examiner that you've had a full process of the first thing you thought about the stimulus to the last thing. I wasn't initially sure on the stimulus messages, but it ended up being my best one, which was lucky because it was the one that gave me most of the marks because it was my year 11 end of term one. You can see there I've done a little bit of artist research. That was one day I visited a gallery. My book just wasn't big enough to include all the things that I needed to include in it, so I ended up just attaching smaller books into my bigger book, which is why it's so bulky now. You'll see a couple of them as time goes on. If you're wondering what all of the writing was on that black page, it was a justification of why I'm making my final piece and why I felt moved to make the art. It might sound silly, but actually it was something my art teacher made me do that I think everybody should do. Coming up is a lot of work on my final piece. Now, I've made a separate video explaining my final piece, which I'm going to upload to YouTube Shorts. So go and have a look at that if you want the full explanation. But I did a life-size model of Alan Turing. Quick interject, this was one of the books I told you about that I would attach into my book. That was like a whole other sketchbook that I basically tied in with wool. Yeah, it was a trip to Tate Modern. I won't show you much of this because it's very samey. It's all just artist research, of which you need to do a lot of. But this, another book inside a book, was my trip to Bletchley Park, which is where Alan Turing decoded Enigma. Again, I get into it in my other video, but he's essentially a gay man who decoded a German war code that basically won us World War II. And a lot of people would be dead without him, but because he was gay, he was given conversion therapy and he ended up killing himself because of his mental health, sadly, by injecting cyanide into an apple. So my final piece is circled around the messages of acceptance that never reached him on time and his message to the world in doing what he did. You can see I've made some messages, i.e. newspapers there of the time, and here is a fact evaluation. If you're wondering what the little card is in the back of this book, I will get back to that later. That's a little secret. Now we move on to collections. Bearing in mind, as we go on, the books get older, so I get younger as I'm making the artwork, so don't judge me too hard. I know all of the stuff in here isn't the best, but I had a lot of fun making it. This is just a lot of artist research you can see here. Yeah, as you'll see, it's so important to do a lot of artist research because this is a big part of the mark scheme. So you want to just write a page about each artist, what you like about them. If you want me to go into more depth about what to actually write in these books, let me know and I'll make another video. So we're still on the theme of collection. So this is a collection of shadows, snails, rubbish, some annotating artwork pages, which are also important. Some design ideas, some of the buttons fallen off, that's a shame. This is a Van Gogh page and it actually has a book inside a book and it tells you about my trip to the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam when I was younger to go and see the sunflowers. So I've done some artist copies there as well. If you're noticing that you're seeing a lot of different mediums, i.e. like beads and wool and material and different types of paints, etc., that's because a big part of the mark scheme is using different materials. And so you have to make sure you include this. It is a bit stupid. In the end, you do end up just picking up anything you find, this page being a great example, and sticking it down in your book. But it ticks a box and it's a way to take the piss out of AQA if that's the examining board that you are studying with. This is another final piece I did for the collections unit, and it was a collection of moments or a collection of settings that has influenced me, because settings is another unit we did, which you'll see in a bit. To be honest, I don't consider myself someone who's very good at drawing portraiture. I'm very good at painting, but I'm not very good at drawing portraiture. So a lot of my work was focused around sculpture and making statues or strange creations like this one you'll see. That was a theatre that I made, and I painted the canvases to go in the back of it so they would slot in, and then made clay figures to go on the stage. Very extra. That was my Van Gogh copy, which I was always very proud of, and I've still got it today. A lot of the work is sort of centred around theatre because I did a lot of shows as a kid. But yeah, I finished that final piece, and then I was basically ready to move on, but everyone else wasn't. So I had to do collections of different things for a while just so my teacher could give me work. This is the final collection bit. I got really bored. It's a collection of things that could be used detrimentally if you chose to use them that way. At this point, everyone else was still doing the first project, and I had raced far ahead because I really enjoyed doing art. So I digress. A man's collection, collages, lino prints, everything. This was just me doing extra work that I basically didn't need to do, but I had to fill the time. You'll see a lot of poems in this book. Most of them are mine. That one's not, but most of them are mine. And the little envelope at the end of the book brings me back to that little secret. So when you open it up, you'll find a poem that I've written about what I learned during the unit and what the theme means to me. And on the back of it, you'll see a picture of my garden on the day I finished that particular sketchbook as a sort of mark of time passing. So you're looking at surroundings now, which wasn't necessarily my favourite unit, but it tied into my final piece for collections as well. So a collection of places or a collection of surroundings. I sort of did a final piece for surroundings on its own as well, because my art teachers did something weird where they kind of merged them all at the time. Or maybe it was me. I don't know. It's probably me getting ahead of the work. Now we're getting into like year 10, maybe even year 9 territory. I can't actually sort of remember when we started it. By the way, that was a cardboard artist that I did the artist research on. That's why I stuck cardboard in my book, in case you think it's getting a bit silly now. I loved this page that I did. I didn't do it with the best material, so it didn't look great, but I just like the idea of it, really. Anyway, as I was saying, the projects all kind of merged. So as much as surroundings was linked to collection, surroundings was also linked to identity. So we had to create something at the end of the surroundings unit to summarise our identity within our surroundings, kind of thing. And this is what I made, which was lots of things I felt passionately about at the time in this big sort of explosion, because people are bigger on the inside, i.e. the TARDIS. Which I thought at the time was genius and now is very cliche. It is fair to say that I was quite a strange 15, 16-year-old. So I did spend more than enough time on this, and I don't expect anyone else to spend this much time, and you don't have to get full marks. You can just have really quality work. But this was my final piece. I did a drawing of it there, and you'll see another picture of it in a minute. That's in better light. Oh, I digress again. This is a piece of children's play furniture. It's like the roof of a farmhouse to put little plastic animals in. I just picked it up and I decided to write my evaluation in it. That's my final piece, and I've come to more artist research. If you know Tracy Emin, you'll understand the bed reference using the material and all of the swear words surrounding her. And then again, this was just some experimenting, some extra work and some poetry at the back of the book. You'll see the little envelope again in a minute, and what I think is quite cool is each of the envelopes have got a picture of my garden the day I finished the sketchbook, but in the final sketchbook, the messages one that you saw at the beginning of the video, it has the day they finished the war, and it's a picture of some gentlemen and ladies waving flags. So yeah, again, I thought that was very clever at the time. I clearly had too much time on my hands. But also, Art Gcse is comparative to World War II in its hardship. I'm joking. However, you can see where I drew conclusions. This is... what is this? What is this? Oh, yeah. No, this is Identity. This is the first book I did. And you can tell that this is the first book I did by that god-awful drawing. And these two are so bad that I'm actually not even going to show you them, I decided, as I was filming this. Vince Lowe, I love Vince Lowe. Anyone who's doing GCSE art should do some research on him because his biro scribble portraits are amazing. I've attempted one badly there. I'd like to emphasise again how young I was when I made this one. Really not the best thing I ever did. I did quite a lot of colour theory in this one, you'll see. Oh, these were the Andy Warhol Mick Jagger portraits. So it's to do with getting a clear piece of plastic and putting it over different backgrounds, so I won't go on too much about that. More on Andy Warhol, more on Vince Lowe. That was made with ink and a stick, which I'm quite impressed with. I'm not mad at that. This is just colour theory. Oh, that's a portrait of my mum that I did at the time. Again, beads, you'll see the different mediums that are really important to use. And actually, see more in a minute of the different mediums. Just go away, Chuck Close. Yep, there you go. Some wool. I don't know what possessed me to make that, but it's the most god-awful thing once again. Some more colour theory. Coming up is an Alice in Wonderland spread. Now, I like everything about this except for my handwriting in it. And I think if you've got an artistic eye, you'll know what I mean. I think my handwriting ruined that. So we're not going to dwell. And that is the end of Identity. Now, I've got a couple of other books. I'm just going to literally flick through them, show you what they are. But this is all of my sketchbooks that I've shown you. This was like a summer project that I did, but it's a bit personal, so I'm not going to show you all of it. It was just about the shows that I used to do when I was little and loving drama and dance. And this is a museum book, just research stuff. And this is all of the books. Thank you for watching. Hope you've learned something and hope you're not sick of my voice.